Welcome to New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones. I am Laura Jones, and we're so glad to have you here. Later in the show, I'm joined by Lieutenant Governor Tahesha Way, who also serves as New Jersey's Secretary of State. We'll discuss the upcoming election and all the ways you can vote in New Jersey. As New Jersey gears up for the upcoming gubernatorial election, voters over 50 are a powerful force, making up a significant portion of the electorate. We're joined by Widelo, State Director of AARP New Jersey, to talk about the key issues AARP members want addressed by the candidates running for governor. Chris, good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Laura. Good to see you as well.
So AARP represents over 1 million members in New Jersey, many of whom are active voters. So can you talk a little bit about the top issues AARP members are really focusing on as they evaluate candidates for governor?
Absolutely. So what we know is in the the last election in 2022, there were 1.2 million AARP. There's 1.2 million AARP members, and over 1.6 million people over the age of 50 voted, and that was in the last non-presidential election in 2022. And again, in this election, older voters are going to be the folks that decide this election, and so they're really listening for the candidates to talk about some important issues. First, a property tax relief. We know how expensive it is to live in New Jersey, and so they want to know what candidates will do to help them continue to afford to live in the state that they love. Also, rising utility costs. There's no, it seems to be no end in sight when it comes to rate increases and overall increases in utility bills. So voters, again, will be listening to how candidates plan to tackle that issue. And then, of course, there's issues around long-term care and making sure that our residents that are in nursing homes and other facilities are getting the care that they deserve, and especially when taxpayer dollars are being used, that those dollars are going for the right care and services to keep them healthy and aging well. And then the last issue related is around family caregiving. There's a lot of people here that are providing caregiving services for a loved one. And that is really helping the long-term care continuum because there is just not enough professional care to go around. So making sure that our caregivers, family members that are taking care of another loved one are being cared for themselves and have the resources that they need are incredibly important to our members and to many people who are over the age of 50.
Right. I mean, you have people, like myself, you're in between. You still have, college, high school age kids, and then you have parents who are aging. And, my age group is in that bracket. But first, of all the issues you talked about, I want to go to property taxes because I think that's got to be, it's always the number one issue. It's a major concern for New Jersey residents, especially the older ones on fixed incomes. So, AARP has supported champion programs like Stay New Jersey and the Anchor program. So are there specific policies or commitments that you are looking to hear from the candidates to ensure property tax relief is accessible and effective for seniors? Because a lot of people, you mentioned aging in place. You want to stay here. You don't want to have to up and move.
Yeah, these issues are really interrelated when you think about it, right? It's about how can I remain in my home and then how can I get the care that I need. And so affordability is a big piece, and property tax is obviously one of the biggest barriers people often face to staying in their homes and communities. And so we have been supportive and worked really hard to make sure that the Anchor program and also Stay New Jersey are a reality, that people can get some relief if they, if they meet the age and income requirements for the program. So we want to make sure that we're hearing from the candidates that they are going to continue to support these programs and fund these programs in going forward, or what other ideas that they may have to decrease the burden of property tax on older adults who are on a fixed income. And I heard from a recent volunteer living in North Jersey that said that his property tax liability is going up about $2,000, and he said, I don't know where that's going to come from, right? Because his income is not going up at that same rate. So we are definitely looking forward to hearing more from the candidates on those important issues.
Right, because houses are paid for many people, but those property taxes, they continue to go up. I want to talk a little bit about another issue you mentioned, and that's prioritizing home and community-based care to help New Jerseyans age in place. So can you talk a little bit about, plans or reforms you want the candidates to outline when it comes to these long-term care, improving long-term care and ensuring, again, healthcare affordability for older adults?
Yes, some people as they age find it necessary to maybe go to a nursing home or some other type of care facility to receive their care, and I think it's often it's necessary. So we want to make sure that people that are in long-term care facilities like nursing homes are being cared for, especially because often people find themselves spending down their assets and then they become reliant on Medicaid to pay for those services. And so we need to make sure that those dollars are being used for quality care and to help the person who is in that home. But often we are seeing that there are some really complex relationships that are happening between, the entities that own these nursing homes, and we need to make sure that these dollars are not being siphoned away from care, but in fact going towards patient care and making sure that environment is as good as it can be, that they're getting the nutrition they need, that they're getting the care that they need, that that have the adequate staffing to provide that care, because there are some concerning trends that we are seeing, and we especially when taxpayer dollars are being used. So I think we need more accountability, and we need everybody to take a closer look, because it isn't, it is, while it's a business, there are real human lives that are at stake here. And so making sure that we're doing right by those folks that are in those homes and facilities is of utmost importance.
Yeah, I mean, it is heartbreaking when you have to make that decision for a family member when you realize you can't care for them at home, and then you're going into certain facilities. And then you mentioned the spin down. If you go onto Medicaid, you have to, life savings, disappears until you get down to your final $2,000, and then that's when Medicaid kicks in. But,
Yes.
ensuring that you are getting that quality care, because a lot of seniors, when they're in that position, they don't know how to advocate for themselves, and their adult children could be in that senior category as well. So they don't always know what they don't know. So how do you help bridge that communication gap, and also make sure that it's something that it is on the radar of leadership? Because we talk about spending in education, but so many more and more people, our population is aging. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, our population is aging very rapidly, and will continue to do so. And so we need, family caregivers who are providing this care at home, in the community, in their home. Probably a mother, father, uncle. They're caring for someone who is, older. Often balancing that with their own kids and work and all the other things that happen, because there is not enough skilled nursing available. So, but if you find yourself in that situation where you do need skilled nursing, we need to make sure that the care is there. And so I look at my own, self. When my father was in a nursing home, I wouldn't have been able to advocate for him in the way that he needed to be advocated for, even though I think he was generally getting good care, but there were just some things that just weren't happening. But fortunately, my mom was dedicated and able to give that attention to make sure that he was bathed on a regular schedule, that when he had his meal, that he was eating it all and things like that. So I consider myself fortunate that I have a mom that was able to do that for her husband and my father. But if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't have been able to be there, have the capacity to be there every day. So we have to make sure that that this care is happening, whether or not a loved one is able to be there as an advocate, but also encourage people that they do need to advocate for themselves and check in and make sure that these services are being are given as they're supposed to. But this is an issue that I think candidates are going to need to really tune into and think about broadly. How do we reform, and how do we make sure that the current care system, whether it is formal care or family care, is what it needs to be to address the aging population here in New Jersey and really across the country.
Right, and a lot of times it isn't always the healthcare worker. They may have, 12 people that they're trying to tend to. Like you said, that the need, there aren't always enough employees. So when you talk about caregiving with so many family members, in that sandwich generation, they're providing unpaid care for loved ones. Are there policies that the next governor should prioritize when it comes to supporting caregivers? Again, I find myself in this situation as well, and I'm learning by happenstance. Oh wait, you are entitled to certain stipends. You are entitled to you could be entitled to respite care. You can do certain things to where you're not having to spend down your family's money, your money, and how do we ensure that the next governor is prioritizing this so that people know and they understand? Because again, we're all, God willing, headed that direction.
Yeah, we need to make sure that we're keeping family caregivers engaged, because without them, again, there's not enough formal services or nursing home beds or assisted living facilities to handle the need. And so they are really the underpinning of the long-term care system. And candidates need to really tune into what that experience is like for people that are trying to balance it all and take care of a loved one, and what those caregivers need to remain successful, because they want to do this in many cases. This is someone that they want to care for, but often the obstacle or the challenges are just so great that they experience things like burnout and or just not having the resources of who can I talk to that is maybe experiencing something. So just a friendly person to be able to talk to. So we need to make sure that we are setting up that we have these resources in place. One of the things that AARP has advocated on the state level and the federal level is for a caregiver tax credit. And it would be a tax credit that would be for somebody who's a qualified caregiver that is spending money out of pocket, which is a lot of times the case, that people are spending $5,000 to $7,000 out of pocket to care for a loved one. And while that credit is not is not all that significant, it is a really just demonstrating that we do appreciate all that people are doing to care for a loved one. And so if we can give them a little bit of tax relief, that would go a long way, because we have to keep folks engaged in doing this. And without it, the system just is not going to work. So how do we care for our caregivers and make sure that they are caring for themselves? And because that's really important, that not just making sure what to do or how to do it or where to contact if they have questions, but also how do they keep themselves refreshed, engaged, and healthy so they can continue to do this work, which in most cases, they wouldn't want any other way. They want to do this, have to recognize their importance in the long-term care continuum.
Chris, AARP has been active in voter education efforts. So can you talk about how you're encouraging your members to evaluate the candidates, what resources are available, and where they can go to find this information?
Yes, if you're interested in more information around this election, AARP has a dedicated website at aarp.org/njvotes, and on that you can find all the information about where, when, and how to vote for the upcoming general election on November 4th, but also information on what the candidates are saying around the issues that we are really tuned into in this election. So we have met with all the candidates before the primary, and again with the candidates leading up to the general election, to ask them to share with us their views. So as we get closer to election day, there'll be more information going up on that website, both about where the candidates stand on these important issues around property tax, utilities, caregiving, and long-term care. And I think people will start seeing more of this, in their through different channels, different media channels, as this election heats up.
Chris Widelo, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We really appreciate your time.
Good to see you, Laura. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Lieutenant Governor, it's so good to see you. Thank you for coming in and talking with us today.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so we've got a big election. The governor's race is topping the ticket here in New Jersey, as well as legislative races. Yes. You, as Secretary of State, Lieutenant Governor, and Secretary of State, you have overseen 8 elections. So let's just talk a little bit about how you're gearing up right now, getting ready for Election Day, which will be here before you know it.
Yeah, well, again, thanks for having me, because elections are very important. This year, every single year, we want to ensure that all of our eligible voters here, they cast their ballot. So since 2018, my team and I understood the assignment, Laura, that it's not only trying to get the eligible voters to vote, we want them to be engaged. We want them to be educated. So what did we do? We created the portal for all things elections, vote.nj.gov.
Right, votenj.gov.
Yes.
Okay, that's where you go, that's where you find it. Because there are so many different ways you can vote. I mean, when you first took office, all the things that changed, and then COVID changed things, and there was drop-off. So let's go over the different ways you can vote and how each one works.
Sure. So, you know, it's great to be a voter in New Jersey because of the 3 ways you can vote. I start with vote by mail. It's no excuse for eligible voters. You could go to vote.nj.gov. You can download the form and complete an application for voting by mail. And then your county clerk will send you your VBM to complete your ballot. And of course, the election is on November the 4th. You have to have it returned by November the 4th. And if you're returning it by mail, you want to ensure that it's postmarked by November 4th, or on November 4th, I should say. There are other methods that you can use to return your ballot. We have the secure drop boxes throughout the state. You could also go to your local county board of elections and return your ballot there. So many different ways in which you can return that ballot, but we always want to ensure that in completing the ballot, you vote, you sign it, and you seal it. Right.
So you have responsibility as a voter yourself to ensure you are dotting your I's and crossing your T's, because there's vote by mail.
Yes.
Then there's early voting, and then, of course, the day of voting.
Before I even get to in-person early voting and November 4th, which we consider D-Day, you can track your ballot, too. Yes, at vote.nj.gov, we have the mechanism for voters to do that so that they can have that voter confidence.
Well, that's what I was going to get to, because there are people who say, you know, the state has done so much to ensure there is transparency, to ensure that they are fair, and to ensure everybody who is entitled to vote can have that opportunity. But there are still some people out there who don't trust the process. So can you explain a little bit more about how you can register and actually watch where your vote is in the process? I'm fascinated by this.
Sure. You know, we're guided just by the principles that we want our elections to be fair, free, and of course secure, run with integrity. So we made certain that we included the Track My Ballot. You can go to vote.nj.gov and you can put in your information, right? And they can advise if your ballot has been accepted. Of course, you cannot find out if it's been counted because it has not occurred yet. But that is just another confidence factor that we have in place. And then getting to in-person early voting. I actually in-person early vote because on election day, I'm working from, let's say, 6 a.m. in the morning. I
was going to say, you're a little preoccupied.
I'm a little busy.
You're a little busy.
So, you know, I was so thankful when we launched in-person early voting, because for me, I have an 11-year-old who loves to read. And you can go to various polling locations within your county. You can find those locations through vote.nj.gov. And she likes to read. We go to our neighborhood library, grab a book, and then I cast my ballot. And Mondays through Saturdays, in-person early voting, which starts on October the 25th, and it concludes November the 2nd. Mondays through Saturdays, 10 through 8 p.m., but on Sundays, it's 10 a.m. through 6 p.m.
Final thoughts of anybody, final thoughts you want to leave our voters with, or those who may not have registered, where to go, what to do, one final pitch.
Okay, voters out there in New Jersey, you have until October the 14th to register to vote if you have not already registered to vote. But please check your voter registration, making sure that everything is accurate. Go to vote.nj.gov for further information, and we'll see you at the polls.
Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much for taking the time, and also thank you for being an advocate for fair, transparent elections. It's just so important, and sharing all of this great information with us. We're really, really appreciative.
Thank you for having me, Laura.
Absolutely. We're here at the Alumni Gym at Rider University, and you're going to see lights coming on, going off, people walking behind us. This is a very active production scene. You're getting to see a lot going on behind the scenes, but we want to take a moment to talk a little bit more about some things that are important to this debate, to the people running the debate, and those involved in New Jersey politics. I'm joined by David Wildstein of the New Jersey Globe, and also Micah Rasmussen of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University. This is not our first rodeo, but it is our first time doing something in a town hall style debate with the governor's race. But one of the things that I was thinking about, and David, you and I were talking about in preparation for the debate, is we talk about it sponsored by On New Jersey, the New Jersey Globe, the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University. We know what that means, but our audience may not know what the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University means. It's named after David Rebovich, for whom he was a political science professor here. And I think we all have some pretty fond memories, and we know who he was. He passed away 18 years ago while teaching here at this school. Yeah. So we just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge who he is, the impact he had, and continues to have. David, I'll let you start first.
Well, I will tell you from the journalism side, when you called David Rebovich on anything, he could always answer the question. He knew everything about New Jersey politics. Didn't matter if it was a school board race in Bergen County or a fire commissioner race in Cape May. He could speak to it. He could speak to it expertly. He was fair. He was impartial. He was analytical. And just, in a state like New Jersey, to have somebody who could sort of fill those blanks, not from the spin of a Democrat or from a Republican, but simply from a person who knew the inside but could speak to it fairly. It was just a incredibly important resource to journalists.
I mean, Micah, he was a human Wikipedia before Wikipedia even existed, right?
Yes, and he was a ball as a professor. He was my professor, and he meant an awful lot to me. He set me up in my first internship on Senator Franny McManaman's last race for the state legislature. And so it's with so much pride that I do the same thing now for the next generation of New Jersey's leaders.
I hope I don't embarrass you here, but he would be so proud of you.
Yes, he would.
And what you have brought to this campus, you have become his legacy. And that's not easy. And I remember the first time I spoke to you when you got the job, I said, wow, this is going to be, you're filling David Revovich's shoes. How do you do that?
And he did. Yeah. You do.
And you are.
You do.
And if he were here seeing, what everybody's going to see tonight, the largest single gubernatorial debate in New Jersey history on his campus, led, by his legacy, he would just be bursting with pride.
I'm thrilled that we can continue the work that meant so much to so many people. He touched so many people, right? I mean, we talk about the way that Steve Kornacki talked about him in his book, right? I mean, he had that impact on so many people's lives, not just here at Rider, but across our politics. Just amazing.
All right, well, thank you both for sharing some of your thoughts about David Rebovich, and thank you for helping coordinate, and again, for the partnership with the Rider University and the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics.
It is.
And that will do it for today. I'm Laura Jones. Thanks so much for watching New Jersey Politics. We look forward to seeing you back here next time.